Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a review for Captain Mar-Vell. I thought I'd take a look at all the MCU movies, and for me the MCU kind of starts with Captain Mar-Vell, which is admittedly a little bit of a dull entry point, but I'm showing these to my daughter for the first time, and she wanted to do a chronological order. And because Captain America, the First Avenger, starts in the present, whips back for basically the entire runtime of the movie in the past, and then continues in the present, whereas this film takes place entirely in one set time period that takes place before the start point of First Avenger, is why I start here. Plus, you get to meet Nick Fury, so it made sense to me. So this is where my entry point to Mar-Vell is. To the movie itself, this is a pretty decent movie. I enjoy it. However, it is far more confusing than it need be, and I don't know why it is as confusing as it is. Carol Danvers' backstory is pretty straightforward, and if they had just done that linearly, I think you would have a tighter film that doesn't feel as messy or disjointed as this film is. You could kind of do it with the same framework of, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, because there is quite a bit of similarity between those two stories. That being said, they opt to go for this, you're dropped in medias res, you are following a character that's been so boxed in to the point where she reads almost bland, being void of personality, and not being able to remember who she is. And slowly throughout the film, you see those layers peeled away until she declares herself at the end of the film, in the final act. And that sounds good, but it just feels a bit clunky. That being said, Brie Larson is good, and once she finally is able to show personality with her cute little smirks, it works, and she is a fun character eventually. But at the start of this, she reads a little Terminator in not a good way. That being said, I do like the twist in this film as well, having the Kree be the ultimate villains and the Skrull be the heroes was a really neat bait and switch that I was not anticipating. It surprised me then, and it sure as shit surprised my 10-year-old, who thought that was like just remarkable. She turned to me and she was like, "This is like a smart people movie," and I was like, I mean, sure, for a 10-year-old, yeah, why not? But that really captivated her imagination. But where the movie really starts to work is through the introduction of Nick Fury. And I think this film's concern with world building works to the film's benefit. It's not sloppy world building, it worked for me, and it could be that Sam Jackson is just able to elevate the material that he's given, but he is really good in this, and I think, for my money, this is possibly the best de-aging I've ever seen in a movie, next to like this year's I Know What You Did Last Summer with Sarah Michelle Gellar. They did a great job at making him read like a 20 years younger version of his character. And you see the building blocks to the Nick Fury that we'll eventually get to know. And when the movie decides to be a buddy cop film for about 45 minutes in the middle, it really starts to gel. That's what I thought was quite interesting. The stuff that hangs around it is a little dull and confusing with all the scroll of it and her weird backstory, but as I say, it's not a tight film, but it works. Once she makes the choice to declare herself, and you get the scene where she rises, and you see how her whole life she's been beaten down, and all she has to do is learn to pick herself back up, is really powerful. Visual storytelling, and to me it harkened back to one of my favorite episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that has a very similar visual scene of women standing up to be empowered in the final episode of that show. That really moved me. The humor works for the most part, and as I say, the characters and Nick Fury really do a bunch to make this work. I like the setup for the how the Avenger Initiative got its name, and that always puts a smile on my face, and kind of shapes his character in an interesting way retroactively. I know a lot of people bump into the Flerken gash to his eye, but that worked for me. I didn't run into that in a negative light, but I kind of also get it. What I didn't entirely love or see necessary need for was the cosmic cube. For me, that probably should have just remained lost for however many years after the first Avenger, but. Yeah, my daughter, this was her first introduction to anything Mar-Vell, besides like some of the X-Men movies, and so this was her introduction to the MCU. She really liked Nick Fury, and towards the end of the film, she was like, "Does he show up again? I really like him," and I'm like, "Oh, he sure does," for a few moments in a lot of movies, but he's there. And she was pretty excited about that he shows up later. She liked Captain Mar-Vell when she was doing her marvelous stuff. She thought she was entirely badass, but I think she also found her to be a bit kind of bland in the first half, and eventually grew to like her. But for her, Nick Fury was her driving, like, he's cool force. So yeah, I'm very excited to show her the first Captain America, the first Avenger. After this one ended, I asked her if she liked this. She said, yeah, she wants to watch the next movie, which she understands is Captain America. And she said, what America needs right now is Captain America to punch a Nazi. And I was like, you know what, you're right. But to this film, she said, it was mostly good. It wasn't Superman good, but it was good. And I was like, I feel you. Like, it's a mostly good movie with some dull elements, and its level of confusion, which is forced on the audience, doesn't entirely work for me. Even as a fan who knew what was going on, I had trouble following it from time to time. That being said, it's a solid film. I give 3 out of 4 stars to. It's worth your time, and in a couple weeks' time I will have a review for Captain America, the First Avenger, as we run into Doomsday. That's what this big countdown is for, and that's why I'm starting this early. I got like 50 movies and TV shows to get through. We got to get a move on. But anyway, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.